What's up with you guys? It's your boy West Coast. So, there is a burning question in the nation right now after Sunday's victory, and that is, who is the better quarterback? Who is the better franchise quarterback, Carson Wentz or Dak Prescott? Now, they're never on the field at the exact same time, so it's hard to kind of determine who's exactly the better. But I think that we can come up with 5 categories or 5 statistic things that we can look at that can come up with a definitive answer on who's better. So the 5 things that I decided to look at was the head-to-head matchup, the versus the East, how Dak played against the East and how Carson Wentz played against the East, their career stats, their 2019 stats currently right now. And then, honestly, I wanted to also look at leadership. Why? Because if you're a franchise quarterback, if you're a quarterback in the National League, in the NFL, you are going to be required to lead a team, whether that be on the field or in the locker room. And to be honest with you, it should be both. So we're going to look at those 5 categories. So first, head-to-head. Well, y'all already saw what happened last Sunday. And if you really get your jogging noggin right, you also remember what's happened the last, 4 games straight? Yes, the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott are currently on a 4-0 winning streak against the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, it's ridiculous. It's almost like Ohio State versus Michigan. Like, they just don't beat them. You know what I'm saying? And I'm looking at this. I look at what is Dak versus Philly. Dak is 5-2 against the Philadelphia Eagles as of right now. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, that stat alone makes me want to be like, I don't even want to look at the rest of this stuff. But hey, we're going to look at all 5 categories. But I'm just saying, man, when it's all said and done, they played 7 times. Dak has walked out of the game 5 times as the winner. I mean, do we need to go to number 2? But why not? Let's go to number 2. So let's look at number 2. We're going to look at the versus the East. How is Dak Prescott played versus the NFC East, which consists of the Washington Redskins, the New York Giants, and the Philadelphia Eagles? Well, as of today, Dak Prescott is currently 16-5 against the NFC East. 16-5. That means out of 21 games in the NFC East that he's been able to play, he's won 16 of them. Now think about this. He's also, in that span, the only quarterback that's played all of those games too, because Eli Manning missed games because of what? Bad play. Now, Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is 9-7 versus the East. That's almost 9-7 won't even get you in the playoffs. So already, I would think that, as we got to get that category to Dak. So Dak Prescott basically owns the East because, on that stat alone, you can basically say that Dak Prescott is the best quarterback in the NFC East. And on that alone, he should get paid the most money in the NFC East at that quarterback because Washington has 3-4 different quarterbacks. The Giants, they have 2 quarterbacks that look exactly alike, i.e. they pay the same. And then Philadelphia, Carson Wentz 9-7. Dak is 6-5. So that's another category for DAK. Check. All right. Let's look at career stats. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. These career stats are gonna be a little jaded. I'm gonna tell you why. Because Carson Wentz can't find a way to play a full season. Outside of his rookie year, if I'm not mistaken, Carson Wentz is only averaging about 12 games a season right now. And remember, this is a guy who got paid. Now, Carson Wentz has played 48 games in his career. Dak Prescott has played 57. That's almost a whole half a season more. You know what I'm saying? In those 48 games, Carson Wentz right now has 11,801 yards, 83 touchdowns, 32 interceptions, and 636 rushing yards. Now, Dak Prescott in 57 games, because remember, Dak is healthy. Best ability is to be available, right? Dak Prescott has 12,999 passing yards. He has 79 touchdowns thrown, 32 interceptions. Now, this is a kicker. Listen to this. Dak also has 21 rushing touchdowns. That is ridiculous. If you put that 79 with the 21, Dak is in the 100 touchdown club. Why? Because 21 rushing touchdowns, that's ridiculous. There's running backs that don't have 21 rushing touchdowns. That's crazy. Then on top of his 1,107 rushing yards. You would think that we would run him more, right? With those type of stats. Crazy, right? So already we can say if you multiply those numbers and you kind of go with the trending, to be honest with you, the numbers are really about the same. But to be honest with you, I gotta give it to Dak because 21 freaking rushing touchdowns, that is amazing. Like, that's ridiculous. That's almost that's almost like 5 a year. Like 5 rushing touchdowns a year. Dak Prescott is definitely a dual threat. Like, you know what I'm saying? And think about this. With him having 21 rushing touchdowns, how many games has Dak Prescott missed because he was rushing for a touchdown? 0. How many did Carson Wentz miss? Go look at 2017. He was rushing for a touchdown and got hurt. So that within itself, I almost want to be like, yeah, man, I almost got to get that one to DAK. I mean, what do you think? We're basically at 3. We basically at 3. We going to 5. If this was the best out of 5 series, the series would be over. But you know, for video purposes, we're gonna finish. All right. So 2019 stats. Let's look at 2019 stats. So as of right now, Carson Wentz has 1,649 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. Dak Prescott currently has 2,123 yards, 12 touchdowns by air, 3 touchdowns by ground. So that's a total of 15 touchdowns already, and 7 interceptions. Now, the 7 interceptions, we all know that is not like Dak Prescott. Why? Because he had one game where he had 3 interceptions in one game. So, I mean, if you just take, that's just not his game. You know what I'm saying? But it happened, and we don't even take it from him. You know, but just remember that 3 interceptions happened in one single game. So, with that alone right there, Dak Prescott, again, we're at 4 now. Like, at this point of the game, the referees is stopping the fight. Like, the fight is over. You know what I'm saying? You didn't beat this dude 4 rounds. The fight is over. But I want to talk about leadership. Because word in the town is that Carson Wentz is kind of a douche. That's just what, that's what they saying up here in Philly. You know what I'm saying? They're saying that he's very entitled. They're saying that it's my way or the highway. And to be honest with you, Philly probably need to do that. Why? Because when you invest that type of money into a quarterback, it really is their way or the highway. Like, if you don't like the quarterback, you got to leave. That's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? That's another video. But what I'm saying is there is turmoil in Philadelphia. There are players who clearly had a passion and love for Nick Foles who are not trying to give that loyalty and respect to Carson Wentz. And after every loss, 2 things are happening. You're having dirt spit on your quarterback, and someone from their defense is getting fired. Like, think about this. They lost last week to Minnesota, and they fired their starting defense, their linebacker. Then they lost to the Dallas Cowboys. They fired Atlanta Standard, old bum self, and another dude, I don't know. But basically, folks is getting fired. You know what I'm saying? The leadership, from what I'm hearing from Carson Wentz is not good. Or even, to be honestly, that it's not even there. You know what I'm saying? But to be honest with you, you hear the total opposite of Dak Prescott. You hear Dak Prescott is a man's man, that Dak Prescott is a guy who rides for his boys. Dak Prescott is a guy also in the middle of Zeke having contract negotiation, said things in support of Zeke. So, Dak Prescott is a we've always known that leadership has been one of his greatest qualities. That you can go all the way back to Mississippi State. Like, that's been undeniable. You know what I'm saying? There's never been one negative thing that's been said about Dez Bryant. You know what I'm saying? Even with all the crazy stuff, not Dez Bryant, even with Dak Prescott, but even with all the crazy things that happened with Dez. You know what I'm saying? Dez never said one negative thing about Dak Prescott. And think about this. After that Atlanta game, when we blew out Atlanta, we didn't blow them out, but you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? We got on them boys' head. But then after that Atlanta game, and Dez had just got hurt, what did Dak do, man? At the end of the game, he walked into the camera and threw up the X. Like, that's leadership, man. Like, he rocked with his boys. You don't see that with Carson Wentz at all. And let's just be real. I should throw this 6th category in there, man. And that is called, can he put a team on his back? Man, I ain't seen Carson Wentz put no team on his back. And if you want to go back to 2017, well, he could have been an MVP. Well, shoot, that could have been one in 2016. Like, when people think about Carson Wentz, you're thinking about 2017. You're not thinking about 2018, 2019 Carson Wentz. You're not. You're thinking about 2017. And I'm saying, if you're going to be thinking about 2017, why not go back 1 year and go look at a kid who had the greatest rookie season of all time? Like, that's kind of amazing to do in freaking the NFL. You know what You know what I'm saying? Pat Mahomes won the MVP as a second-year quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Dak Prescott won a Rookie of the Year as a first year. I mean, obviously the same thing. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, man, 5 categories, and I gave you one free one. Dak Prescott's a better quarterback. And at the end of the day, the real question is this. If you were a GM and both these quarterbacks were available, who would you be most interested in starting your franchise off with? And I'm going to be honest with you, if it's not Dak Prescott, man, you need to slap yourself. Never look down because the stars up. Peace.